Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Maricopa Public Library ScaryTellers. So, we're in for a night full of fantastic frights and spooks. So, I'm going to go ahead and turn on over to our special guest, Anthony Rodriguez, who will be showing us what it's all about.
Hey, Andy. Hey, guys. Thanks for having me. I'm here to be your program guide for ScaryTellers, one of my things that I've always wanted to do, and this is absolutely a dream come true for me today. And I want to thank you all for that, and I want to thank Gabby for showing up. And now, Gabby, did you want to introduce yourself a little bit, or maybe why you like scary stories so much, or what is it about this that actually got you interested?
So my name is Gabby. I'm in ninth grade, and I've always liked scary stories. I've always been kind of scared of them, but I've always liked them. I don't know.
Besides pulling out board games on these nights that you're kind of staying in, especially on a Friday the 13th night, you don't want to be out on those nights. This would be a great opportunity to really bring out your creativity and gather around and tell scary stories. So
this story is called Mirrors. I woke up in a cold sweat as I heard knocking coming from my bedroom window. I let out an exasperated sigh. James, I've told you time and time again, I'm not going to get back with you. Leave me alone. As soon as I finish my sentence, the knocking stops. My heart drops as the realization hits me. I live on the third floor of an apartment complex. How would it be possible for James to be standing there knocking at my window? I slowly turned to look at my window. Was it just my imagination? I think to myself. I lay down again. As I'm closing my eyes, I hear a light tapping coming from the window again. I get up and start walking to my window. Each step I take feels like eternity. I take a deep breath before reaching out to open the blinds. I pull the cord fast. My eyes widen before I let out a nervous and raspy laugh. A tree branch, that's all what it was. Calm down, stop being so paranoid. My breathing slows and I start to calm down. I walk back to my bed and fall back asleep. I wake up to the light tapping again. I roll over as I check the time. 2:33 a.m., a couple hours before I need to get to work. I close my eyes, thinking about what tasks I need to do at work. As I do that, the tapping starts. The tapping quickly turns to a knocking and then into a pounding. I open my eyes in fear. The pounding stops immediately. It's just a tree branch hitting against the window. Just ignore it, I try to comfort myself. I close my eyes. The pounding starts as fast as it stopped. I instantly sat up and looked around. The pounding stops. I take my own advice and try to ignore it. As soon as I close my eyes, the light tapping starts. Tick, tick, tick. It sounds like a beat, like one you would hear in a song. It's perfect, which is strange considering the sound is made from the wind. I open my eyes. The ticking stops. I close my eyes, and it starts again. That's no branch. Whatever is making that noise knows when I open my eyes and when I close them, which means whatever is out there is watching me as I sleep. I get out of bed with my eyes closed and the tapping starts. I start walking with my hands stretched out, relying only on my ears to lead the way. I walked until my hands touched something smooth and oddly warm. As I laid my hands on this, the tapping stopped. I opened my eyes to see my reflection standing in front of my mirror and a shadow-like figure standing behind me. I felt every hair on my body stand up. I took a few deep breaths and tried to calm myself down. I count down from 3 and then I'll turn around to see his face. I'll fill out a police report. I'll leave the apartment. Okay, 1, 2, 3. I turned around fast. There was nothing behind me. I turned around back to the mirror. The figure was still there, along with one crawling on the roof. I shut my eyes. It's just a dream. It's just a dream. When I open my eyes, they'll be gone, I whisper. I hesitantly opened my eyes. To my surprise, there were no more figures in my reflection, just me in my pink and orange pajamas. I started walking towards my bed, and then I stopped. I looked at my mirror for about 5 seconds. I don't know what happened, but something inside me snapped. Not physically, but it felt like all that built up fear immediately turned into anger. I walked up to the mirror and ripped it off the wall. It shattered. I walked over to the bathroom, my feet bleeding from the glass. I didn't care though. I wanted to be left alone. I grabbed my hairspray and started hitting it against the mirror until a big crack went through the middle of it. I left the bathroom and came back with a chair. It didn't take long before the bathroom mirror shattered. And that's why I'm so tired and haven't been able to focus today. I'm sorry, I told my boss, Amanda. She was quiet for a while, like she was concentrating on something, and then opened her mouth to speak, and then closed it again. She sighed and then said, Leah, do me a favor and just go home. Go sleep. We'll discuss this tomorrow. I nodded my head. The ride home was a blur. I don't even remember getting inside my apartment. When I opened my eyes, it was 2:34 a.m. Having nothing else to do, I grabbed my phone. 5 messages, all from my best friend from work, Sarah. As I was responding back to her, I got a message from an unknown number. I opened it, expecting it to be a scam of some sort. The message said, "Bring back the mirrors. We miss watching you."
Oh, I love it. That's such a good job.
Thank you.
Excellent.
That was amazing.
That is good. Doreen and Sydney were two best friends that lived in a small town. They never had anything much to do in their town, and the only escape for them was their podcast show called Below the Oblivion Town. Their show was all about how boring their town was and how, to be honest with you, it wasn't very popular. They maybe only got 3 likes in any cast that they did, and most of them were from their family. The two girls would talk about the most unpopular town in a very mocking way. It may have been a little judgmental, but hey, it was fun. One night, they decided to open their cast to calls from people who were listening. Doreen said, "Okay, my friends, let's hear it from you. If you have a question about our town or you just want to dispute us in any way, go on ahead. We will put you on the cast." "Let the debate begin," cried out Sydney. They waited for about an hour and all the while played music from a band group that visited their town every once a year. It was close to 9 o'clock when they received a call. Doreen answered. "Hi, and welcome to Below the Oblivion." Before she could say anything else, the person on the line violently coughed. It lasted for a few minutes that became eerie and awkward. The two girls waited for the person to catch their breath. Finally, he did. It was a man. "Hey, long-time listener," the man said in a bit of a hoarse voice. "Hi, this is Doreen, and I'm here with my colleague, Sydney, of the deep and terribly unremarkable town below Oblivion." I know you are," said the man. His voice seemed different now. It had a mocking feeling to it because it sort of mimicked Doreen's tone. Sydney broke the small silence. "So tell us, how do you feel about our town, my good sir?" "Thank you. That is very kind of you, young lady. I grew up here. It's the town where it's not too far from the hardest left or right, or should I say east or west." The man was a farmer, clearly, and had a lot to say. He told the girls a couple of stories of how the town had always treated his childhood well and that he wouldn't trade it for nothing. At one point, Doreen attempted to cut him off, but the man got even louder with this talking, and it was beginning to get a little odd for the two little girls and even a little weird. After 30 minutes or so much listening, Doreen thought she heard the stranger mention her father. "What was that? You know my dad?" Doreen asked. "Yes, I was just saying I work with him in the factory. He's like you two. He wishes he could leave this town, but I won't let him leave, not just yet. I have to tear out his daughter's throat," Sydney gasped. I don't like what I hear from you two. You bring the negative energy out and it destroys my town and even hurts the people with your words of magic from these devices. So I decided to cut out your throats and let you reap what you sow. Let's cut them off, Doreen, said Sydney. This is getting creepy. Doreen hung up on the man, which up until now she barely realized they'd never even got his name. The girl sat silently for a while when Doreen finally said, "He's just playing around. He must be a friend of my father's." "This is just sick. I'm going home," said Sydney. Sydney walked home that night in a fast pace, holding her notebook close to her chest. She was terribly frightened. As she came around the block, she saw a man at the far end of the street, and he was walking towards her. She ran to her house from that point and made sure to lock the doors and windows. Days went by, and Sydney was so scared that Doreen had to talk her out of not mentioning the situation to anyone. Doreen told her it was a wacko or a drunk friend of her father's. The show that night had no listeners, as it typically did, so no one knew of the strange encounter these two poor young ladies went through. That was the end of Doreen and Sydney's podcast. They decided against their dreams of becoming popular thanks to this lunatic. They pulled the cast off and hoped that was the end of stupid yet scary thing. A few months later, Doreen and Sydney played with two-way radios that Doreen's father had from work. They couldn't help just joking along on them with truck drivers that drove through the town. It was around 10 o'clock when all of a sudden the radio beeped from someone else. It was not any of the drivers. It was the man who called them that night. "I knew I was you two." The radio buzzed, and the two girls could only make out a few words at a time. "Yeah, both tonight." The radio cleared. "I'm coming down the street, and this time I will catch you." Sydney knew what he meant. He must have been the man that stood at the end of the street that night she walked home. In their panic, they raced upstairs to Sydney's brother's room. Dennis was a baseball player in school, and Sydney always felt safe with him. He answered almost immediately and then went outside with a baseball bat. He walked around for a while and saw someone down the street. Before the girls could caution him any further, he ran and chased the man down towards the open fields. Dennis came back and rushed to lock the front door. He yelled to his sister to call the police, and Sydney did. It was around 12 o'clock when the police arrived. They found footprints of the man leading into the old farmhouse on the outskirts of town. The police found the man inside, huddled in a corner with a knife. The police arrested the man that night and discovered that he was a local that had gone crazy after his wife had left him and took his kids from him. He claimed that the two girls had poisoned the ears of the people of the town, and that was why all the bad things were happening to him. The girls explained the situation to the police, and one reporter even told the story over the news. In a way, the experience had got both girls a bit popular in the town, and what was once a boring town now became the terrible experience for both of them. This was not exactly what they wanted.